great. Sounds good.
Vincent,
Yeah.
what? That's a crazy background. What's that, man? Looks like you're like on ayahuasca and stuff in the background. That's like how I imagine like a DMT trip or something like that. Yeah, yeah, something like that. Please don't suck us all into the black hole. Yeah, guys, as you're joining, just raise your hands. Jay wants to join. I see. Raise your hands if you want to join the stage. Also, give a quick intro and stuff. You can share your screen. I'll just do the intro. I'll do the technical proposition that I have. Then you can do. Then we can do all the subsequent technical propositions. So you're definitely able to share your screen as long as Discord allows us to. But I think it should. We upgraded. We are level 3 now. Just one or two more minutes and then we're ready. Oh, sad Farouk can't attend. Farouk was also working on some cool stuff. Hey, I'm Jay. How you doing? Welcome.
Hello.
Welcome to the stage, man.
Thank you. How are you guys doing?
Hey, Ray. How you doing?
Hi, good to see you.
Yeah, I'm doing great. Like as I said, I've been moving out, so I have like random stuff. I'm sleeping on a mattress tonight, because I'm moving out on Monday. But Open Devin has been getting real exciting, so we have to find time for everything, you know.
Oh, okay, nice. So I have a little thing to show you, kind of off topic, but it does use Gen AI.
Sure.
It's just a little project I made. Is it okay?
You mean with next Pi?
It's a different thing. It's a game that uses Gen AI.
Sure. Sure. Let's do that. Let's do that at as we progress a little bit. I think we'll get started in a minute
Oh,
or two.
yeah.
If
Sure.
you have 2 minutes, you can gladly share. Share it if you want to share it
It's
within.
like a minute-long video. It's not a big
Sure.
video.
We'll just do a watch party so long as it fills up. Again, anyone that has joined, if someone also wants to join the stage, also contribute and talk, feel free to raise your hand and
Okay.
you'll be invited up.
You can see it, right?
Yeah, it's loading on my end.
Okay, let me know when you can see it. So this was a little thing for a hackathon I did. If you know the Godot game engine, that's what I used.
I don't know.
And we had
I don't know if the others do.
So Godot is Unity's competitor. It's open source and free. We didn't use Unity because of their sort of predatory policies that they're using these days.
Yeah.
So went with Godot. Yeah. It's a 2D pixel game. It's like the older Pokemon games, if you've played any, like Hub Hotel. So we have a agent management system running in the background that controls the NPCs. That was basically the idea. It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
Just some prompt engineering to make the NPCs do things, talk to them, so that sort of thing.
I don't see the video. Is
Sounds cool. You can't see the video. No, I mean my.
share the video for later.
Okay,
Okay,
fine.
I
Do it
can.
later.
I think we can get started steady but
Yeah.
slowly.
So-
Yeah. Feel free to share it. Again, before we start, anyone that's down to come up and also give some thoughts verbally and stuff, feel free to raise your hand. You'll get promoted to the stage. Then you can join in. Generally, what we're going to do is that I'm going to do a quick intro, a quick welcome, and we're going to walk through some technical propositions. I'm going to share the technical proposition I've been working on the last couple of months. and generally my background. And afterwards, everyone is free to share their technical propositions, and we can go through all the thoughts and ideas and see that we either split up into teams afterwards or find a common ground and common vision to work with. Yes, I'll just get started. So welcome everyone. Welcome to building the open source version of Devin, the AI software engineer. A very exciting project. I personally have been already working on since April of, so basically since the release of GPT-4. By the way, Omjay, can you stop sharing your screen? Then I can share my screen real quick. Yes, thank you very much. So that I've been working on pretty much since the release of early GPT-4. It's a very exciting problem and something very useful that can be built. I'll just share a little bit of the stuff that I've been working on in the past and how it may contribute to generally what we're building right here. So I started working, when we initially started working, we built the first two versions. I'm going to skip quickly through them. This was the first version we had built. I hope everyone can see my screen. This was the first version that we had worked on. This was basically, you can describe a project. You get an existing requirements document, and then you get a one-shot generation of a complete code base. So it then just goes out, creates a file structure, generates the files, does everything, deploys it, creates an API documentation. This was the first project that we had worked on. This was done for my agency CTO. My background is in software development, so I've been leading a software development company for the last couple of years. We build consumer products, and I also lead that to this day, which is basically my daily business. Yes, and this originated basically from the idea that I kind of switched off a lot of into doing planning, like planning with GPT-4, because that transformed like my agency operations really on a fundamental level. The planning got much quicker. So I can remember this was the first project I had planned here back in 27th March with GPT-4, and this was the actual motivation behind starting to work on dev agents. Yeah. So it planned out the whole logic, interdependencies, the data schema, and everything. And then I thought to myself, we can turn this into a product. And this was the first thing that originated. This was great, but we quickly ran into some errors. You also couldn't import any code bases. The quality wasn't so good. A lot of the things that Devin today does pretty good, and that I'm also proposing in my latest architecture. The second version we had worked on was this iterator, which was quite a big step up. So what the iterator was able to do is that you can import any size code base. And what we would do, we create a semantic search where we would traverse the complete code base and create code snippets, like split up the individual files into code snippets, store it aside metadata in a vector database, and then have a semantic search algorithm, which when you have a query like expand user to a full name, we can get all the files where actually the user is mentioned so that we can edit it. In this version, you could still like do the edits, do all the fun stuff. But what this version was missing is still a way to actually check that the imported, like the generated code was actually valid. So out of this, an exploration had started, which was just an idea in the beginning. Which was just an idea in the beginning, which actually became this latest platform right here, which is also open source on my GitHub if anyone wants. So this full front end and back end is open source. So you guys can check it out. I think we can also reuse some of the prompts that I did here for the Open Devin. Generally, what this version does very well right here is that you can iterate basically with natural language tasks. So you can say, here, for instance, we started with this version right here. This was my first prompt. I just uploaded the picture of Devin and said it should transcribe it into ChatGPT and then pasted it in here. And then it generated this UX UI. Then I told it to implement a terminal, which isn't a very specific task, but then implemented this terminal. You get the point. This was already a great technical achievement into building something similar to Devin. And this was done like in January of this year, or finished January this year. But what this is missing is that the human is still the autonomous driver of the whole thing. And that's what Devin does very, very good, because Devin is really autonomous and can autonomously navigate. The biggest bottleneck with this platform right here is that even if you implement a task, for instance, Let me give you an example. Create a full VS Code style editor. I'm going to revert to this task real quick. Let me go like this. Optimize to be a fully fledged. Fully fledged VS Code editor. This doesn't seem to be a fully fledged VS Code editor. So it's nice what it generated, and it's a pretty first decent result. And technically, here are no issues. So in the development, okay, I can check the logs now, but generally in the development, there were errors popping up. And here are like deterministic methods of checking server-side and client-side logs to check if something is working or not working. The issue is it doesn't actually semantically check if what was built is actually a fully fledged VS Code editor. And this is generally a fundamental problem that that's an actual architectural problem that Devin has also solved, is that they built this is also what I propose with my OAS framework, which we're going to come to speak of that in a sec. They're actually building a autonomous cognitive entity. So just as humans or animals are, they are building, and that's also why they're called cognition and cognition labs. And this is also very much aligned with the vision I have for the future. We are an applied AI lab focused on reasoning, and code is just the beginning. What this means is that if we manage to solve to building an autonomous cognitive entity that's a very capable software engineer, we are able to branch out and build autonomous cognitive entities or agents that can navigate all the complexities of the world and do all kinds of jobs. At the core, what we're building here is, in the beginning, open Devin, but we're really laying the open source fundamentals here for the whole transition from an AI-based to an human-based workforce. And creating a framework or a framework that creates a digital being that can navigate the world, that can behave like a human, that lives in an actual tangible world. And this is exactly what the OAS does, and also what my technical proposition is all about. So generally, let's start going through it backwards. The OAS or the Open Devin, let's just call it Open Devin. By the way, we have to vote on the names, so we will have to get some names in the chat and create a Google form to vote on that too, or each team can decide, however. Generally, how the architecture works is that we assign all the abilities that to some extent humans have, all the cognitive abilities, to the Open Devin. And we let it live in a workspace, meaning it lives in a Linux Docker container. The Linux Docker container is the place it knows. It's the world it lives in. It's the world it navigates. And it interacts then with this workspace, with this Linux Docker container. By the way, let me just mute this real quick. I can't mute this. In this Linux Docker container, and then it has abilities to interact with this workspace. These abilities are the exact abilities that human developers have, meaning the crudding of files, the crudding of terminal sessions, so sending terminal commands, using of the browser, any web browser interaction automation. So our capability to actually go in, to get back to my example here and check and see this visually with our own eyes, not just the code, and evaluate, okay, this thing probably isn't a fully fledged VS Code editor, and we have to iterate more. And by giving it all these abilities that human developers also have, we essentially make it truly able and truly give it agency. With these two components, we're giving it agency. We're giving it agency with the abilities. We're giving it intangible interactive environment, a Linux container. It can interact with the digital world. It can use everything that the digital world has to offer. Theoretically, in the future, you can even hook up this Docker container to interacting with IoT devices or connecting to camera feeds or using anything that you can do with Linux at the end of the day. And these are the first two parts: a tangible interactive environment, the agency with the abilities, and then we also need a methodical approach to actually, and this is also what Devin is doing pretty good, and also what we see kind of what's happening here when it converses with you and when it does its planning right here on the right side. I dissected this into 3 layers. This used to be more layers with the OAS framework, but just for simplicity's sakes, and for like the first version, this probably makes the most sense. We have a macro plan layer, we have a plan task select layer, so a control agent and planner agent and an execution agent. Yeah, the execution agent takes care of the task prosecution, or let's start with the planner agent. The planner agent goes out and it has only certain abilities assigned to it, meaning it has access maybe to the code snippet retrieval. It doesn't have access to the CRUDing of files. This is just on a task prosecution layer, but it has access maybe to use the browser. And its whole focus in like system level instructions is set to going out, doing research, doing information gathering, creating a high level strategy. These guardrails that I'm talking about, each of these agents, they run recursively up to X steps. So they're like self-debating themselves internally. They all have fixed guardrails, such as these, for instance. This is from the previous project that I had shown, where we have a task list, which is a fixed JSON output that we aim to produce. Which is then parsable, and which we can then use it within abilities and to have it within the other layers. But what I mean with hard guardrails are guardrails like these. So very meticulous prompt engineering, where we very, very clearly define and add rules and add guidelines and things that it should strongly follow the given JSON format. Important, rank the tasks based on your file dependency using a logical evaluation process. It even makes sense to break it down in the prompt engineering. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, like which workflow am I going through? And this is happening, so this kind of prompt is happening on each of the individual layers, and each of the individual agents are running recursively up to X steps. To ensure that no information gets lost across these three agents, we are using memory systems. Memory systems, just as we humans have. So this is all from cognitive science, known concepts or theories on how our minds work. This is at one, our working memory, which is kind of like our short-term memory, our episodic long-term memory, and our semantic long-term memory. The working memory, which is the short-term memory, is a constantly updating part of the context window, which is really used across all the layers. Meaning, you can imagine this as like in 1 minute intervals, like the current information that you have in your head, or even like to give a computing analogy, like the RAM you use on your computer. This is the working memory. We keep track of all the latest final outputs that we produce across these three layers. We keep track of an event log that summarizes each produced message across all of the layers. And we also keep track of ability-related information. So we know what the state of the current workspace, or per se the world, is. And we store that. So we have, if we, for example, did a code snippet retrieval or did a browser interaction, this is a good example, and we got the report back. So we executed this function call, and we got the response back. This is also saved within the working memory, and the working memory is being constantly updated and is always part of these internal processing layers that we have right here. This just ensures that we always have the relevant context at hand, because one of the biggest problems that agents have is that they often lack the larger context in which they're operating within, and this is giving them exactly that. Besides the working memory, we have two more things. Or one, we have the long-term memory, which is the episodic memory. This is just a fancy way for saying the logging. These are all the messages produced across the entirety of the AI agent, the dev agent we've created. And this is just an SQLite database or something very lightweight, where we can save all the messages with metadata, when were they produced, in which layer, and the actual contents. Yeah. So and the episodic memory can then also later on be used to retrain the semantic memory. The semantic memory, just very briefly, this is basically also what we humans have and where we store our fixed beliefs and concepts about the world. In the LLM, this is essentially what it's trained on. Yeah. So what we could do in the future like I'm very much advocating to start with state-of-the-art models, meaning either Claude Opus or GPT-4. This is a decision we should make today, or which I have on the on the decision tree, which we have to do. What we have here with the semantic memory is the option to which we can't access with these state-of-the-art models, but as open source models catch up and we get on GPT-4 levels, which is eventually going to happen, is that we're able to retrain our core models based on the synthetic data that we create across all of these layers that we store in the episodic long-term memory. And then we can train first our custom models with this data. And second, we can also implement an algorithm which evaluates the episodic long-term memory after every objective has been finished and retrains the model. But this is all future stuff. I won't go too deep into this for now, as it's not relevant to getting to execute. Yes, so I explained the internal layers, I explained the abilities. The abilities, one more thing, they're access. So each plan task layer says you have access to these 6 abilities with these function calls, and they're able to do these function calls, which then trigger the abilities, and the abilities then interact with the workspace reports back, abilities go into the working memory. Working memory is also updated as it is with the other messages across the agent, across the layers, and yeah. And then we have finally the actual input layer, or the conversable user proxy layer. This is the outer layer of the agent, which just reports to the user what's happening. So in this sense, this is more of an UI thing or an UX thing, so that the user knows what's happening, and that the user can interact with it. So we send in the user input, and then it goes to the internal processing layers, and it just keeps the user updated by logging its internal layers. So it says what it has done. This is the conversable user proxy layer. I think this already gives like a pretty good pretty good understanding on what I'm proposing right here. I already also have a breakdown more here, in which we can go into, where we also have specific decisions to make, and also which kind of plans out the implementation more detailed. So yes, if there are any questions right now, I'd be happy to give insights. And else than that, we can move on to other technical propositions. We can add thoughts and ideas. If someone has something concrete to present, I think we're all very open to hear that. Thank you, guys.
I have one follow-up question about the architecture. It might have been addressed in your doc. I forget. Is the progression through a task like strictly a linear process under this cognitive architecture, or were you to get in a rut? Have you thought about backtracking?
That's a very good question. So it's not like a entirely. It actually is a sequential process in the beginning. I have thought about like doing so. For instance, that one agent sends information to both at the same time. In the beginning, I would just stick to having it be a sequential process that then communicates. So when the task prosecution layer is finished, it does the task prosecution. We actually send it back. So we have we either have a positive outcome or a bad outcome. What then happens? The control agent says, "Okay, we're going to replan. And then sends it back, sends it up to the planner agent, or we take the task, and it says, for instance, okay, now let's just move on with the next task. And this is up for the control agent to decide within its guardrails. Also to mention, like these are all, and that's also why I'm calling them agents and not just specifically layers. They're not really just like one input, one output. They are one input, multiple thoughts and self-debating to produce one core output in this fixed format that in either XML or JSON, depends on which LLM we decide to use, which then can be used and parsed and worked with. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you.
Happily. Are there any more questions? I see there are... Yeah. It probably is not going to be too expensive. this is relative, but I would just aim for building like, even if we have costs associated with it, just see that we like be able to build the best thing, and slim down from there. Like, what I would generally propose is that starting today, tomorrow, we like have a 4-week sprint where we try to execute completely on the idea and build out a first like completely demo ready, exactly as Devin has, a version of this AI agent, and afterwards we can see which optimizations we can make and how we can bring the costs down and everything. Because I also feel like, for example, the browser interactions, they're also going, like, this is something that I'm a little bit worried about in terms of the cost. The planning, not so much, to be honest. But like the browser interactions, they can add up to a couple of dollars pretty quickly. I just wouldn't take it as a topic for now. So I would see that we build the best possible AI software engineer, and then see how we can reduce costs and optimize. Yeah, I don't know what you guys think. Feel free to give some opinions.
I think that in general, as far as the getting a demo goes, cost optimizing later makes sense. But over logistically over the course of like testing it, where we're debugging and we're doing many iterations, that's the only issue I foresee where cost could be a problem, not of what the end product uses necessarily.
So look, I can share under pretty intense use what my bill has staked up to, and this was like the vast majority that I had got to. So you can get like a point. This was, so the usage this month isn't so much. My backend generator on the thing is pretty expensive because it sometimes runs into a loop because it isn't self-aware like this architecture that we're proposing. Generally, do I have an overview? I think it rounds up to something like this. Like, this is the cost that we get, and this was pretty active use. If there are people working on it and the costs are going up, if the costs are going up to a level where it like gets pretty intense, we can also see that we kind of like create a shared fund or something like that where we all put in some part and spend it. But I would do that within the process. I don't think it's the biggest thing right now. Good. Someone had asked, have we decided on an agent framework? And what are there? What had you also asked? So when using step back prompting help with having only single agent perform the role of multiple layers? Yes and no. So if we put, this is again my opinion, if we put everything in one agent, and I tried doing that, we run into the issues that guardrailing gets pretty harsh, and we need to have like one big prompt that's get diluted in different topics. So if we can like separate the topics into multiple agents, we should definitely do that and put the instructions on an individual agent layer. But we're also like, I'm open to experiment with different approaches. We can try. I just think that if we wanted to put, because this for instance would just be for the task list, and then if we dilute it too much, and this is for a different kind of task list, but if we dilute it too much with information, we might lose in quality. So I don't think it's a too big abstraction going with multiple agents to ensure that it works properly. And the second question is, so writing a custom agent framework, and have we decided on an agent framework? Again, like, I think we should pretty much go with a custom route. I don't think that the current agent frameworks which are out there are going to give us like a big increase in time or anything. And we would be kind of stuck in an opinionated code base, which we have to work with. And also one of the core issues I see with the majority of these like multi-agent frameworks, not that they're particularly bad or anything, is that they're focusing on this multi-agent concept, which is at one fine, but I don't think we're actually there yet to like this whole concept of swarm intelligence is a very good concept. But I think what we're first missing is that we create the agent that actually works and goes out, and then we can combine them into an agency swarm and do the swarm intelligence thing. I would propose that we try to build, because there is not a single reliable production-ready AI agent except Devin that was released a couple of days ago. So for 1 year, everyone has been building agents, also with these frameworks and stuff, and nobody is able to release a reliable production-ready agent. And what we should aim to do is that we produce a reliable production-ready agent. And I think the best way to go about it is to have this specialized use case, go in, build it, and then dissect from there and maybe create our own custom agent framework that we can also use for other purposes. But this is talking down the line again. Yeah. So for now, it's not too important. It's just important that we get started. Will we need a shared model that can be hosted and be used by everyone that is developing? As we will, for example, we can fine-tune Mistral 7B and expose it via API. We should create personally, everyone that wants to work in my team on this, I would propose that we don't use any open source models as of now, because again, we can use the best tech, we can fine tune later, we can create synthetic data sets and then jump in from there. But yeah, I'm happy to get some opinions on that if somebody wants to speak. Also, anyone from the audience, yeah, you can raise your hands, and you'll get promoted to the stage if you want to join in and talk. Yeah, so it's not just me solo talking. Feel free to jump in. Yeah. Yeah, and fuck you, show me the prompt is freaking great. Yeah. If we going with Claude LLM, there are very few agent frameworks that are carved for it. I agree. Especially we go with Claude or we go with GPT-4. That's my opinion, and we will have to decide on that. Also, we can either one abstraction that I would be open to use is something like GPT Assistance API. And someone also yesterday, I don't know if you're here, also shared his open implementation of an OpenAI Beta Assistance API, where we can also use Claude and everything that we want to. One big distinguishment between Claude and using GPT-4, and I would be generally also open to doing both. But if we do both, that means we have to have double parsing utils for both JSON and XML, and we have to have that for one, and we have to have all the prompts in both a XML and JSON or GPT-4 format so that they're valid for both. From anyone that, to be fairly honest, I didn't use Opus yet because I need a VPN from Germany, which freaking sucks. I don't know why. But generally, what I heard from everyone that has been using it is that it performed better for code. I'm also happy to get some opinions of that. If someone can share what their thoughts are on GPT-4 versus Claude, just babble it out. I think that would be a great insight. I propose we maybe go. We maybe go over a couple of the questions that I've written down. One that I already just touched on to decide if GPT-4 was Claude Opus. This is something we have to decide, and in that context, we also have to decide if we go with Light LLM. So Light LLM is. It's for the people not familiar, it's a method to call all LLM APIs using the OpenAI format, and then we have just the option to call them all and just have Light LLM without having to switch up and do hundreds of utils. And this Open Assistance API, we have to decide if we go this route or if we take the abstraction of the Assistance API, which is helpful because we have the chat threads and stuff already given, and we could potentially use that. And this is also using Light LLM under the hood, meaning we can also use pretty much any type of LLM also as state-of-the-art increases. If we also get maybe the 1 million context window with Gemini 1.5, stuff like that. Yeah. Let me just check if you guys have any thoughts on that. Claude Opus is, in my opinion, much better, outputting longer working code, keeping coherency. Yeah, that's also generally what I heard from the majority of people. Opus, GPT-4, GPT-4 Turbo. GPT-4 unfortunately will be too small. Like the context window would not be able to handle the use case properly. So or in GPT-4 Turbo is quicker. But generally, Opus and GPT-4 Turbo is what I'm proposing we go with. We must have a team working on an LLM layer, which before making open source LLMs compatible with the framework, create an eval system. Yeah, I agree. As I said, light LLM as an idea. Also to maybe dissect specifically into the teams working. I already kind of planned out the core topics that we have, and we have to work backwards. Like we have to start first with the workspace abilities, then go do this. Then the latest is the input, or the input layer can also be done further. But we first need a workspace, so we need to do the whole Docker setup. In my open source code base, I've been using an abstraction called Doku, but this is not too great. So we will need to have because mine is always like when the Docker container goes offline, it deletes all. It's no persistent storage assigned, so it's kind of reliant on just work on being up all the time. And it's not the same idea because I'm just cloning the Git repo in there. It's not a full workspace. So we need to set up a Linux Docker container with persistent storage, and we need to create everything for it. Meaning, in terms of functions, what we need there is a Docker run command so that we can like interact with the Docker directly, run commands within it, and get Docker working there, which just returns the path to the persistent Docker storage. So, generally, what I want to say, like I kind of started planning out the core topics right here. And also how the communication layers and agents are structured. You're all very happy to read through it, and also to get to one of the first questions. We can do it two ways. On how we're going to build the first version. We can either make it with an opinionated code base first. This is what I've been doing with the version I've been working on here. This is an opinionated code base. It allows us to act, to have like a specific way of approaching it. What it means is that we also have stuff like this, where we have a file type system, where we dissect which specific folders we also have. So this is a template directory right here. It's a little small here on the left side, but I hope you can see it. And there's controllers, middleware, resource. So this is a backend code base. It's just blank and then app.js. And then it kind of describes these file types as potential file types to edit. There is an idea to create an abstraction, which is something I call here the sgconfig.json, which lays out how, or we can call it dir config.json, which can be placed in the core directory of a Git repo, and we map out the complete repository exactly on how it works. So meaning we lay out the front end, the file types, we describe them, we put in extra prompts for exactly them. Like we create an abstraction that you can put in. So here, for instance, I have very specific prompts for the file types on what rules to follow, which is making it very reliable. And an idea would be is that there are two ways of going about it. We can let it go pretty openly without having this abstraction, and then it arguably performs worse because it has less context on what it should actually do. But it's also more because there's less context on what it should do. But on the other hand, this also can be used like agnostically. We can have it in there and have it within this first version as dir config where we parse it, and then use it for like the for the file, like for the code generation and stuff like that. But these are all things that we have to decide. Yeah, to not babble on, let's check. Like I'm very open. If anyone wants to join in, I just don't want to fall too much into a monologue. If anyone wants to come in and join and give some thoughts, feel free. Again.
So when you get to a good stopping point, I'll give a little 3-minute spiel on my thing.
Do it.
Cool.
Go for it.
Can I share screen?
Sure.
Let's see, open system settings. All right, you know what? Hey folks, I'm not even gonna do that. I'm just gonna drop some links in here. And like, I want to step back and just kind of maybe focus on higher level stuff. Like, I liked Moshe's point a few days ago that like his goal is for us to just aim to beat the SWE bench, score by any means necessary. I have an existing project I've been working on for 4 months, so I'm not going to be like engaging with other people's projects probably too much. I just wanted to kind of share what I thought what might be some principles is. I like that there's going to be multiple different approaches. I like that Chris guy is like already steaming forward and like doing a whole bunch of stuff. I want to myself try and think as much as possible from first principles, like can we basically like do we need to create a whole perfect replication of their demo and their UI and their browser and stuff to beat SWE bench? I'm going to be testing my little plan there, and SWE bench plan is my kind of critical path to try to start reverse engineering some of the results that they got. And I would love if our community in the next like week could post a either SOTA or like number 2 a benchmark just to demonstrate some progress. So yeah, check out those links. That's a little bit about what we're working on. I think some of the stuff that we're working on might be relevant more in the medium term. You can read in our little like launch thing there. We figured out how to kind of compose agents from reusable building blocks using WASM plugins, such that we wouldn't have to maybe decide between one model or another. We can enable people to use multiple different ones because I think different things are going to make sense in different use cases. But I hope maybe we can get maybe it deserves its own kind of Discord channel for people who want to like really focus on like no UI, no frameworks, just how can we beat the SWE benchmark as fast as humanly possible. And I'll be sharing kind of what we work on for that, and our code's all open source and stuff. But encourage anyone who's interested in that, please like chime in with how we can beat that. That's all for me.
Cool. Does anyone else also want to share some thoughts that they have?
I could.
Yeah. 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 Ray, you also started talking.
Yeah. Are we good on time? I won't go too long.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I'm Ray Myers. Really excited to be in this group. Like you, Marco. I kind of woke up when GPT-4 came out last year, and thought like, okay, it's viable to do a lot more with code with these things than it was before. Um, I'm dropping some links here, but my focus has primarily been on the area you talked about a lot of the existing systems aren't good at like diving into an existing code base. Just the application onto legacy code is what I'm most interested in, and so I like started a website to that effect called mender.ai just to talk about the application of LLMs to legacy code. I've shared here an article which summarizes some of the or fleshes out some of the important points, but without like going through point by point, you'll notice when you put existing code into ChatGPT or whatever you have, oftentimes it breaks it over the course of making its improvements. And we already have deterministic algorithms that know how to address code and make certain kinds of updates without breaking it. So when the LLM is trying to do something that we know how to do deterministically without breaking anything, like doing a mass rename, like doing an extract method, why not just give it the tool to do that and not rely on the LLM to output correct code, which they're not so reliable at doing. That's been my area of exploration, and I've got various experiments, but it's more of a bottom-up approach. It's how do we make the tactical execution as reliable as it can be. So I think regardless of the top-down approach, and you've got a very interesting one, it should be able to kind of fit together. So I look forward to seeing how I can fit in and fill whatever gaps are present. I'm also pretty handy with test automation and things. So yeah, I look forward to working with everyone.
Hello? I don't know. My internet just crashed when 20 seconds Ray started talking. Man, I didn't hear anything. Now I'm sad. I think it's important that I think we kind of have to find like the individual teams who properly, because I think there are a couple of teams who kind of have like base ideas. I think just important that we start executing, and I think your idea is general not only for dev agents, but as a whole, it's dope. Because in the future you can bring all of sorts of agents together and have a marketplace. And then that agency swarm that I also like touched on briefly, you could totally make it a reality with that. So I think it's a good idea. For now, I think that like everyone has to, because like what I propose to actually make this a real thing and build Devin, is that we sit down, we see who's out of all of you guys who is serious about contributing, who's down. Like I'd be up to like for my technical proposition structure out all of the GitHub issues. I'll send through an Excel list. Maybe you can sign up, or you can just drop a message within the general channel, and we can create all the GitHub issues, and I can structure everything out and do the project planning there and the project management. We just have to get the base directory set up, and then we are ready to roll. I anyone that's down to join with my, because I'm very thought out already with what I have in mind. I worked on this like prior to Devin. When Devin came out, I was first very frustrated, like because I thought like, dude, I spent months working on this and they just released it, and like you guys must imagine, like I didn't go out of my house. I literally spent all day just working and building AI dev agents, and then they just released and had this big wow moment that like I had anticipated to have when I release it, like in 2 to 3 months from now. So just Devin came out, and I have all of those blueprints ready. Anyone that's down to join, I'm happy to lead this and happy to push it forward. I'm open for all ideas. Like I'm set on as long on something. Like my only interest here is building a reliable production-ready AI agent. I think what we're doing today here is building to also be a little motivational, but we're kind of building the Linux and MySQL and Postgres and the open source of tomorrow. And in 10 years, we're all going to live in a fundamentally different world. The economies are going to be redefined on a fundamental level. And we really have the opportunity to build the tech that is going to be used tomorrow as an absolute standard. So the sooner we get on this, the sooner we ship reliable production-ready systems, the sooner we can reach that goal. And anyone that's down to join, let's go and build. Yeah, I think everything on my end is defined out. The only thing is creating GitHub issues and starting to code or let our GPTs code and creating PRs. Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, OMJ.
Yeah, so we at Nextpair are definitely interested. We're building an entire framework that can be easily modified or created by AI agents.
Yeah.
And another thing that I see someone in chat said that should we make a game developer AI? That's something then I have worked a bit with Godot. So looking into that, then I can contribute for sure.
Sure. If Are you interested in working on my version, on my Mirko AI version, or are you interested in building that game dev agent, game agent?
I'll have to take a look at yours. I'm open to both. There's no issues.
Okay, nice. Guys, if anyone has questions, raise your hands. If anyone wants to speak, come up. Let's share some more thoughts and ideas. Anyone has some ideas on how to build it and how to build it. If anyone has totally different things to what I'm saying and thinks I'm completely full of shit, come up and challenge me or propose your idea. And generally, if there are any questions, both from a technical or from a product perspective in building this, or in a managerial perspective in building this, just feel free to ask. Ask in the chat. Come up and speak. Whatever. How often do we sync up? I would keep it very, very agile. So I'll be doing this full time. I'm moving on Monday, but even Monday I'll see that we already start shipping. The only thing is that like I wouldn't set like particularly maybe a daily call or something. We can see if that's something that we need. Let's first see like everyone who's interested and who's committed, and then we can kind of create that structure. Most importantly is that we just start shipping, and then it should be fine generally.
Yeah, I would like take this server as like
Real
a
quick.
shared office of all the different open source AI agents that are like coding based, so you can hop around on different projects if you wanted to.
Yeah, perfect. So I'm looking forward to getting into Marco's project, but I was hoping to hear a little bit more about the other projects. Does anyone have any information on kind of what the other ones are doing? I just want to know like where I can contribute. You know?
So, if there's anyone here from Pi Next, then they should speak for or Next Pi instead of me, who is just learning to get the name in the right order. But it is in a category of approach that I think I understand, which is to like instead of bringing the AI capabilities to programming, to constrain programming in such a way that you can define the scope better, to optimize your AI agent for it. And so it's like instead of any kind of programming on any kind of repo, it's Python development and specifically using our front end and back end framework. Just like if you're doing a Rails app, where stuff goes, you can more easily develop an AI agent that's going to be optimized for that. That is the general category of approach NextPy is, and I think that is one of the very viable ways. It's not going to help you win SWE-bench, benchmarks, but I think in terms of a practical approach, it's very interesting to me. And they also have I think people from that product have posted in these chats saying that they would like to take some of that out and make it as reusable libraries so we can be sharing efforts as well. So that's one reason to look into what NextPy are doing.
Hey guys, just on a quick question. Maybe I missed this before, but different people have talked about their projects and perhaps joining efforts there. How does that converge onto the Open Devin like repo itself? Like, are we using that to contribute to the main product? Like, how does that work?
So if we get access to the Open Devin it's all I'm not the owner of the Open Devin repo. I'll create this Mirko repo, but honestly, at the end of the day, it's not that important which repo we're using. It's most importantly that we're shipping and that it's working. But it would be dope to get a 1,000-star repo for it, and that has been forked with a README only. So it would be dope if the owner here is here or anyone knows the owner. Yeah, that would be an option.
Just for a little context there, everyone kind of just joined the Discord and a bunch of different people created their own repos. One of them created Open Devin.
Correct.
Yeah, so there are 2 points which I wanted to share. Like, I can take up front end actually, just to start a couple of tasks. So, I can build the complete front end right from auth layers to the layouts and everything. Just to pick up some tasks, right? Like, and the second thing which I will ask is like if we can manage this on some kind of board, maybe a Kanban board or something like that. Like
We'll set it.
maybe yeah, because I think what is happening right now for everybody is like a lot of folks here may not know a lot of different things, right? Like so, some people are good in like full stack development, but not have much awareness of LLM stack, right? And some people may have understanding of LLMs, but not the core development, right? So and then there are certain tough problems also which we have to solve. So I think I've seen Chris's tweets on Twitter, which are related to how to integrate how he has integrated terminal and like coder and like code editor and everything, right? So these are a little tough problems for some people to absorb here right now. So I think the best way will be to actually put these as tickets, right? And the people who understand that okay how certain things can be built, right? They can put up a ticket, give some understanding of it. Like the people who can build it, right? They can pick up the ticket and like ask more queries, like get it clarified, and then start building and contributing. So I think that will work. Because otherwise nobody will speak. So that's what I'm observing. That's why.
Yeah. You're completely right. Like after the call, I'll make sure to set up all the GitHub issues based on the core topics and stuff, with specific tasks that can be taken on and worked on. I'll just drop in a message to everyone that's interested working on the proposition that I have and developing based on it. Just drop a message, drop a hey or something like that in the mirko.ai here in Discord, and also feel free to message me directly with your skill set and things you have on your mind you can already help out with, just so that I can get an understanding of everyone that what everyone is doing, where the different skill sets are, and then we kind of can co-assemble in the different teams too, and talk in the different teams directly together, so that we have directly all the people that are important, that are interested in working on this on the multiple ideas, that they can jump around the meetings. Yeah, will do. But I'll set up the project management.
Yeah, and just to also clarify, like I'll be pushing to Mirko AI. I am seeing Open Devin has already they already have created one PR for the front end, right? That looks good, but we can just create one front end for Mirko AI later on if we want we can merge it. So if anybody is interested into contributing anywhere in the front end, right? Like just reach out to me. My basically profile is Prometheus, right? I'll anyways like communicate that on the channel. But otherwise, as Marco said, like once we start creating the tickets, I think that will be much more clearer for everybody, right? So yeah.
Yep.
Talk to the server owner. We can get some roles so that people can have different roles attached to them, so it'd be easier for like doing adding and stuff like that, notifications.
Yep.
Yeah, that will be good. And one more thing which I'll just share everybody who is here, right? Like so a lot of things, and again I'm saying this from my perspective, right? Like a lot of folks here may be aware of a lot of things, right? And there are few folks who will not be aware of a lot of other things, right? Like so they're just starting out, they are maybe newbie in this whole thing, right? So don't hesitate, right? We're building together, so just communicate, right, as much as possible, because otherwise we'll not move forward, right? Like right now I'm not seeing that much engagement actually from everybody. So maybe I'm wrong, so please excuse me for that, but I saw Marco speak, other few folks speak, but please be free and like please communicate wherever you can contribute, even smallest of possible, like, just contribute, right, and speak. Thanks.
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, cool, guys. If anyone wants to come up and speak and share thoughts, and to adding that to Prometheus said, we can go ahead. If else, I think we're pretty think the majority of stuff is said. If nobody wants to say anything more, maybe we can split into a smaller group, or we'll take a smaller group into the Mirko AI channel. Everyone that wants to work on the Mirko AI joins me, and we kind of start already. Maybe just jump in one more, and I'll go through the core topics. that I already had planned out in the planning, which is going to clarify a couple of questions, and there are a couple of questions and like technical choices we can also speak on. And else than that, I think what Prometheus said is 100% correct. We just have to create the GitHub issues, and then everyone can take responsibility and take on what's relevant, and go out and work and build and push. Cool, guys.
sounds good. Yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Vincent, a lot for organizing. And also, I don't know if Moshi is here, but thanks, Moshi, for creating this Discord and bringing us all together. So, yeah, guys, I'm very excited. We have something amazing to build here.
Heck yeah. Thanks, guys.
Nice one. See you all in the mirko.ai chat. Join mirko.ai. mirko.ai.
Yeah,
mirko.ai.